Sushi Tech Tokyo 2026. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a great time today on Business Day 2. I know it's lunchtime, but thank you so much for coming to the Impact stage because this session I am sure you don't want to miss. The session is titled, Where Are Global Climate Tech Trends Heading? Global investors discuss the changes since the COVID-19 pandemic, worldwide trends, and promising future sectors. So let's invite in our wonderful speakers. A big round of applause, please. Kathy Liu, Vice President at Plug and Play Japan, covering energy and smart city sectors. Summer Bay, Managing Director of APAC Clean Tech Group. Ashley Grosh, Vice President, Breakthrough Energy. Andrew Hinkly, Managing Partner, AP Ventures. And Jan Lozek, Managing Partner, Future Energy Ventures. Thank you everybody for coming. Please take your seats. Moderating this session will be Kathy, so I will hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I will be your moderator for today's session, and I'm Kathy Liu from Plug and Play Japan. Okay, I will skip it because MC already introduced our distinguished lineup today. And for today's panel discussion, we will have three agenda for this session. So first, we will reflect on the climate tech investment over the past decade. Then we will discuss the future investment outlook and the core drivers of the market. And finally, our speaker will give us some really insightful advice for what kind of the Japan's potential from now on, and also how we can scaling in our deep tech startup from into the global market. Okay, I'd like to dive into the first discussion point. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Summer, just I want to get your view first for the whole investment trends over the past decade.
Is this on? Great, thank you, Kathy. And I'm really glad that it's like we are framing this questions not only the 5 years, we're talking about 10 years. The reason being is like if you are not in the climate investment and then you're like often just like really over focused on the last 5 years, which was right after boom, right, like bubble. So we had like a lot of investment from 2021, 2022, and if you're only thinking about the 5 years, the market is declining. But actually, when you what actually happening in the markets, if you step outside and think about the decade, what kind of a path and what kind of journey we went through in this industry is really, really amazing. So if you think about it, like back in the 10 years ago, I still remember I was talking to battery manufacturer, big battery manufacturer, and I said the battery will be like $10 per kilowatt hour. And then they were laughing 10 years ago, right? But that's actually happened right now in the current status. So 10 years ago, it was better, barely the market was hitting the $10 billion of investment. But now is in 2025, fast forward, it's $45 billion. So we just saw that a lot of market is involvement. And back in 10 years ago, we were talking about only renewables, solar, wind, and barely storage, right? But look at us now. We're talking about hydrogen, carbon capture, grid technology, and then adaptation resilience. Everything is in the clean tech industry. So we've been actually evolve a lot. And I was just wanted to touch base at that, how amazing that this journey was. And then I was just wanted to mention about a couple of things. Investment mindset, yes, has been changed. So 2021, 2022, anything labeled as a climate was getting a capital, right? But then now investors are now really focusing on not asking whether that's a climate positive. People are asking whether it's scalable. Is it commercially viable, right? So the mindset shift has been shifted from impact to actually commercial and scale focus. I think that's kind of a quite important, significant changes we made. So I'll just like highlight the three things that in the market. the highlighting thing is AI is shifting the markets a lot, not only because of a software, we're talking about infrastructure. It connecting with the generation to infrastructure, the grid, and then how we will gonna maintain and deliver those powers, and energy efficiency compute. Battery cost declining is a lot of pressuring to the very next gen battery. I think we will talk about that in the future, and then next session. And then materials supply chain, because of a geopolitical situation that we have now, the material supply chain is really, really important, especially critical material, minerals, and where energy and then all the industrial resilience is really involved. So what does all mean? What does all this mean, right? So this today is no longer about, people are talking about clean tech is no longer the thing, right? But I just really disagree. It's really about we are maturing, the industry is maturing, and then we are evolving now. So we are being more selective and strategic. So it's no longer about, it's more about, okay, where is policy support and infrastructure, and then also the patient capital is for the emerging technology. We see the solar, wind, and EVs like mature. It's already integrated in the system, but how are we going to support the emerging technology? I think that's more important.
Thank you, Summer. Thank you for your sharp analysis. It's really helped us to get a clear picture for the climate tech investment past decade. Next, I like to turn to Ashley. Yeah, actually, the words always watching Breakthrough Energy's next move. Yeah, and your organization is well known for injecting the significant capital and support for the high risk and high impact startups. So maybe you could share some of your insight for how your perspective about the past 10 decade for this whole investment trends. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. I do think it's helpful to take a look back further. So I'm glad we're doing the 10-year look back because, as Summer pointed out, it tells quite a story. So I want to remind people of, at Breakthrough Energy, the why. Why are we doing this? So we actually started and got launched 10 years ago. But the why hasn't changed for us. So we know that energy is prosperity. We know that populations are growing. A stat that's sort of astounding is 80% of the planet hasn't been on an airplane yet. So think about that for a moment, right? As markets, as countries, as populations grow and the demand shift. Today, 85% of our energy comes from burning fossil fuels. And so we think that there's better ways to do things at a lower cost. And then we also know, just on the demand side, energy will double by 2100. So that is really continues to be our North Star and the why we're doing what we're doing. So how is Breakthrough Energy doing this? So when we first launched, we really looked at the hard to abate sectors and said that they need a different infrastructure and funding platform for these high emitting capital intensive sectors. And so we set out the 5 grand challenge areas: manufacturing, electricity, agriculture, transportation, and buildings. You can see the emissions broadly, how those make up the global emissions. And then what we did is we put a really high bar in place. So anything that we fund has to demonstrate that it can abate 1% of global emissions per year at scale. And so we're going after deep tech, really the hard infrastructure problems. Over the last 10 years, we built out portfolios of investments in technologies and startups in these 5 areas. And so we've taken a real portfolio approach. So we've built out investments across the cement industry, tackling different parts of cement, how we make cement, how we make Portland cement, can we use electrochemistry, can we get smarter about how we do cement? We've done the same thing across steel, across batteries. We have continued to try to find the holy grail for battery. We're going to keep working on that. Hydrogen, we've got a hydrogen portfolio. So that's geologic hydrogen or natural hydrogen that's occurring underground, or produced hydrogen through electrolysis. So we have a bunch of companies in our portfolio that are working on that. And then mining and minerals, I bet that will come up a couple times here. So I could go on. There's, built environment too, agriculture. I will say agriculture has been a little bit harder. That's a very complex market to innovate around, to sell into. So I know, Kathy, one of your questions was maybe what's been a little hard. I think agriculture is an area that we're still trying to find a lot of solutions there. But, as Summer mentioned, it's a constant evolution. And so we started 10 years ago with Breakthrough Energy Ventures Fund 1, BEV Fund 1. And today what we've realized is that we needed to evolve our platform and keep adding to it. We believe that innovation is infinite, and so that we needed to bolster on some more early stage efforts. So that's the program that I lead that's called Breakthrough Energy Discovery. That's going further upstream, working in new IP with new founders, the next generation of founders. So we believe we want to have a constant pipeline of innovation to go after. So working with academics and really trying to spin out companies. So that's early technology readiness levels. And then at Breakthrough Energy Ventures, they're now on their third fund. So they have 130 portfolio companies, primarily in North America and Europe, but we're spending more time here, right? We want to partner and bring those technologies here and invest in companies here. And then we've added on some other growth and some other first-of-a-kind funding, blended capital with other partners. And so now what you can see is we're building out an end-to-end platform where we have different types of capital that can fund different stages of technology. We'll talk a little bit more about Japan specifically later. We also launched a sustainable aviation fuels fund. So we might start adding sector-specific vehicles. But I guess my point is, while innovators are out there innovating, we also have to continue to innovate as the capital providers. And so this is our sort of broad approach to do that. One last piece in discovery is we have funded 80 early stage startups from 19 countries. And we've really spent a lot of time out in Southeast Asia. We're broadening our view in APAC. And so our mission in this whole platform is to be more global.
Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, I truly admire the Breakthrough Energy stands for support the high impact startup, and both require a significant time and capital and a lot of challenge for this whole space. And next I hope to turn to Andrew. Among the climate top tier VC, AP Ventures is well known by focusing on the industrial decarbonization, especially, for example, hydrogen supply chain. Maybe you could share what kind of innovation and technologies you focused on over the past decade, and also including the success and challenges you have encountered along the way.
Right, thank you, Kathy. So AP Ventures, we have been investing in hydrogen and other industrial decarbonization technologies since 2013, so more than a decade. And we are very much focused on the more challenging parts of the energy transition, so heavy industry, essentially. Over the past 5 years in particular, I'd say investor sentiment has not been consistent. It's not followed a straight line. There's been periods of intense enthusiasm, and there's also been periods, perhaps more recently, where things have seen some caution, maybe even some retrenchment. AP Ventures, we've been consistent through this period. We have an approach which supports our companies through essentially thick and thin, not just when things are favorable. Our strategy, though, has evolved over this period. So we do now think perhaps more holistically about low carbon molecules rather than simply hydrogen. So our view is broader, and we also include advanced recycling technologies in our portfolio. And that sort of widening lens reflects a reality that decarbonization doesn't happen in silos. The technologies increasingly sit at the intersection between energy systems, industrial processes, and now national priorities as well. So what has become especially evident is the growing convergence between climate objectives on one hand and energy security, resilience, and sovereignty on the other. So in summary, over this period, there's been positive developments. Certainly, I'd echo the points. The last 10 years, on balance, has been very positive. The last 3 have been challenging, particularly by policy uncertainty and regulatory uncertainty, emanating particularly from the United States. This has created headwinds for hydrogen in particular in some regions, but we also see hydrogen and low-carbon molecules and fuels, such as ammonia, gaining significant traction in other regions, particularly Asia-Pacific, and specifically China and India. Sectors performing particularly well are distributed power generation, typically tied, in our view, to ammonia, large-scale, potentially methanol, and sustainable aviation fuels, which have been particularly pulled along by regulatory environments in Europe, continental Europe, and the United Kingdom. So that's essentially how we've seen the last decade or so, challenging most recently, but not universally so. And there are regions that are steadfast and consistent in their deployment of new technologies.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your insightful, the whole overview. And finally, Ian, I'd like to turn to you. And Future Energy Ventures is widely recognized for accelerating the decarbonization, decentralization, digitalization, and for the whole energy industry, and with a strong focus on the digital technology, I think. And given the broader decarbonization in Europe, which specific area has your firm focused on, and how do you view the overall evolution of the market? And also, looking back at your portfolio, and which area performed as expected, and which fell short?
Thank you for this long question. So I hope to manage it in time, and please stop me if I'm talking too much. But Future Energy Ventures, we are also a venture capital fund, like the previous speakers were elaborating. That's why I'm not talking too much about our strategy. I'm more talking about our differences or our complementing approach to what was been shared right now. So we are really believing in high renewable or fully renewable energy systems. They will come sooner or later, and in Europe we experienced that already. Most of the countries in Europe produce more than 50% of their energy by renewables, isn't it? And what's then needed, if you think about that, you need an intelligence layer and software layer which is coming on top, and then organizing decentral energy systems. And if you're thinking about a decentral energy system, think also about heat pumps, batteries in homes, think about industrial sites which are fully decarbonized, think about all these moving cars and trucks we will see. And that means we need to connect and organize the energy system totally differently in future than we do it today. And we already moved into this, especially in Europe, no? And that's our strategy about. And I just wanted to link your question back to the data of summer. I did it in a different structure, but if you look here at this chart, which is quite important to see, most of the money in the last 6 years have gone into transportation, so the electrification and transportation space and the energy space, and others are picking up right now. But I don't want to focus too much on what's coming next, more on what we have seen. And what we have seen in our fund, that especially in that sectors, software technologies, intelligence is needed really to make the extra return, or to create the value we need also to prove that the companies are scaling and producing financial returns, because the sentiment has changed, especially in Europe, no? We are moving from CO2 emission reduction to scaling exciting technologies and providing returns to investors, because only if we can prove that these technologies provide extraordinary returns, we can make it into a full renewable market. And so what you see here on the slide, especially what's happening right now in Europe, but also in other countries, is EVs are scaling. And look into the current situation, geopolitical situation. Since the Iran war was starting, 50% of increase in EV sales. We see in most of the European markets. I think we see the same in the US. And if we have more and more cars, that means we have batteries, we need to connect them. We can use the energy for flexibility and for operating energy systems. And the next big topic on transportation is batteries in cars. No? And the next big thing is coming is e-trucks. You may discuss it already here, but what we see in Europe, we are at the price point right now, and we can already operate e-truck transportation quite economically in the next few years, and we are seeing a couple of startups coming online, and we are really excited about the space and wanted then to invest into that. And if you just look into energy, you see renewable energy and deployment, that's already a developed hardware technology. Then you see fusion, my fellow VCs here stands for mainly no, energy storage, but it's coming. There's a lot of spending, and a lot of capital allocation means a lot of intelligence is needed. And AI especially will play a huge role here. We are talking not only about connecting and also using the data from the different devices to manage, to automate really large scale decentral energy systems, and decentral energy systems which may include your rooftop solar or your battery at home, and also larger sizes of hardware. And I'm pausing here for the moment. I'm really excited for the upcoming conversation. And then sharing the rest later so that we can manage also to go to part 2 and 3. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So you don't want to use this slide? Okay, sure. Thank you so much for all of our speakers. Just give your insight for the past decade. And next, I want to turn to the future innovation outlook. Actually, since last year, maybe 2024, we've seen a clear shift in investment dynamics driven by AI. And I think it's also having a profound impact on the climate tech space as well. And overall, we are seeing investors recalibrate their strategies with capital shifting toward AI. And at the same time, AI is creating a new opportunities. I think the expansion of the AI data center is driving a massive need for energy. And the rise of vertical AI for energy supply chain is significantly promising and improve the efficiency across the entire energy supply chain. So given these shifts, I'd like to hear all of your view about the future innovation outlook on the climate tech investment space. Okay, maybe we also start from Summer.
Sure. So let me break down this a little bit simpler. In Clean Tech Group, we are trying to look at this future 2026 outlook in 3 structures. So one is grow, what will accelerate, right? And the second is flow. Yes, it will grow, but then it's with some nuance. And third is slow, so it's having a lot of headwinds. The reason we are trying to break down this is because there are a lot of noise in the market, and we wanted to see some what is clear indications. And as Kathy mentioned, AI is totally no-brainer, right? So I truly believe that AI is connecting all the supply chain we have in clean tech. So if you're thinking about AI, everyone's thinking about software often, but then now really we need to think about hardware. Without electricity or energy sources, you wouldn't be able to run the AI data center, right? So you have to think about the generation, you have to think about the cooling system, you have to also thinking about how to deliver those electricity. And grid is struggling. The current grid we have in our world can't really to support those electricity amounts that we're trying to produce for AI. So if you think about this growth area, so we are thinking that the people, the companies who are actually involved and really trying to use AI smartly is growth, related with the AI data center, but also how to use AI for their hard tech, deep tech breakthrough. So we believe those areas is a kind of a growth area. And critical minerals is, again, if you're trying to build all these things, you need all the minerals, right? And then like we are lack of those minerals. So we are like looking into those innovations who are involved in this area is going to grow. And because of a war, everyone wanted to think about the security. How can I secure those materials? And then that's really important for our industry. So that's kind of a growth area. Slow area is someone like hydrogen, carbon capture, because of we are totally rely on this policy. And as Jan and Andrew mentioned, there's so many political instability on this kind of support, so that we just see that it's going to be slow. And also, especially carbon credits is a good example. Recently, Microsoft announced that they're not going to do this anymore, right? Then that market is probably 90% is rely on Microsoft. So we are seeing that we're going to go slow. So that's kind of something that I believe that we believe that is kind of the structure of the market will go. But there's a nuance, of course, right? Regional nuance is important. I think a lot of us have a tendency to look in the global trends, but then actually nowadays, especially in our situation, in this completely different geopolitical situation, I think that we really need to know how to translate the global trends to our regional market, right? In APAC, that I believe that there's three elements, three areas that will grow better than the rest of the world. One is EV, as Jan mentioned that, but as I mentioned in the beginning, the battery price, lithium-ion battery price is it's already $100 per kilowatt hour, right? So we've talked about that's a magical number for cost parity with our industrial combustion engine vehicle, right? So we see the more EV charging infrastructure, more EV-related innovations will really, really boost it in APAC, and also long-duration energy storage. As I mentioned that AI is stressing, and also renewable is it's building up in APAC so much, but grid cannot afford it. Unfortunately, our grid situation in the Asia Pacific, especially developing countries, is can't really just to deliver those electricity that as much as they want to. So we see the grid is really, really stressed, and that's why the long duration energy storage plus 8 hours is something that really, really needs in this market. It's a little bit different with US, right? US market long duration energy is not really up now. So, but in Asia, I believe that's where grid is stressed is our long duration energy needs to be actually deployed. Third one is hydrogen. And I know that I mentioned as a slow area in the global trends, but because a lot of other market is very focused on supply. But in Asia, then we have China, India, Korea, Japan is really focused on demand. And there's a lot of policy, government-led policies implemented. So we believe that hydrogen will actually do better in Asia market.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your great framework. And yeah, it's very, very easy to understand to the whole picture for the future investment outlook. Then I want to turn to Yang. Yeah, I always prepare a long question for you. So yeah, I'd like to know, advancement in AI is fundamentally transforming the structure and function of energy infrastructure. Sorry, and as expert in the intersect of energy system and digital technology, what is your view on the transformation AI is bringing to the energy supply chain? And are there any area where AI is enabling breakthrough? And also I know you had your new fund, second fund, I think, last year. Yeah, could you share some specific strategy for this new vehicle?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I try to keep a short answer. just to make a bit fun. No, AI. No, it's a big topic, but it's not a buzzword. No, and we talk about AI since we've started in 2016. So it's not a new topic for us. I think the new topic here is the development of the technology, agentic AI, what's possible right now in the here and now with artificial intelligence. And it's huge, it's unbelievable. Just sharing 2 or 3 investments from our fund right now. Now we invested into a company which is called GridCare. I'm not sure if you know it. Really good company. They're using AI technology to understand the real capacity of grid systems. And you talked about grid and the criticality of grid systems to make their job in a more demand and supply fluctuation world we see in Europe and in other countries. And that's quite interesting technology. And without AI, it wouldn't be possible. Another company which is operating with AI and glass fiber technology, which is called Prisma Photonics from Israel. What they are doing is they're helping to improve the throughput of transmission grid lines of energy. So with their technology, they see and understand in every meter of the grid what's happening here. Can I send more electrons? And that's quite important. We don't need to build more. We send more. So that's really in the here and now AI. And then moving to another space in Europe, just mentioning 2 companies, and then I stop and go to what we are looking into area. Inspired from Austria and Real from Denmark, both companies, they're using AI for trading purpose, optimizing battery output, so to say, sending it to the trading markets or taking it from the trading markets. That creates a lot of professional profits, so to say. On one hand, and the company is called Real. They do syndication of PPAs, so they have large power producers, renewable power producers, to slice their PPAs to a lot of smaller clients, which creates an entire new market and reduces risk on both sides, on the client side and on the producer side. And everything is done by artificial intelligence technologies. Just mentioning this 4 examples, and then you see, and that's our investments from our second fund. So we are really moving also into companies which using AI technologies, which we are moving forward. I think the really hot and exciting topics, AI combined with other technologies right now for us, are the data center topic. That's quite interesting. The intersection between energy and data centers, it's great. It's a really exciting topic. We are thesis-driven investors, so we write our thesis and try to understand, and then we invest. So that's an area we are exploring. The other topic is about the topic of geopolitics. No, we touched it a couple of times, but the question it means really for US and Europe and other countries, we need to onshore manufacturing. No, how to do it, and how then to stay competitive with China. So AI, robotics, this kind of technologies can help us to come to a decent level and become competitive on a global scale, but also secure energy and production and industry on our continent, if I'm talking for Europe right now. No, that's a quite important and exciting topic for us. And then the other topic is just how to decarbonize industrial sites. No, that's really important. We need a lot of hardware, but we also need connection and interconnection to the energy system. And here AI plays a huge role in really understanding optimization. There are so many cycles. No, you have heating, you have electricity, then you have the energy markets. And with AI, you really can connect, optimize, and organize. So that are exciting topics for us right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We are really looking forward your second fund portfolio. Yeah, and yeah, I'd like to turn to Andrew next. Yeah, I'd like to have your perspective about, because AI, we talk about AI, actually the expansion of the AI data center require the stable energy supply. Yes, for this point, what can I say? AP Ventures will change your strategy, or how do you see the AI boom for the climate tech investment?
Yeah, it's. I will be brief because I see we've got less than 10 minutes left. I think it's broader than AI, frankly. It's about competition, so it's supply side. It's a demand side competition, rather. So it's broadly digital infrastructure, from my perspective. It's industrial electrification that's happening at the same time. And it's the growth of clean fuels, e-fuels, that are all fundamentally competing for dispatchable, reliable energy systems. So we've got that going on all at the same time. And now, most recently, we have the geopolitical shocks on the supply side as well. So there's this massive competition for energy sources. The implications for what we're doing is we're seeing a renewed interest, I would say, in technologies such as energy storage. Perhaps it didn't go away, but there's certainly renewed interest from the sort of 2013, 2014 timeframe. Fuel conversion technologies, so ammonia cracking technologies is really interesting as people look to diversify and find new sources of energy. And then the conversion technologies, so fuel cells of different varieties. We've seen solid oxide fuel cells powered by different fuel forms as well, from natural gas through to ammonia. So big competition for energy. It's creating innovation around where you find that energy and different forms of energy that can be used to satisfy these new demand sectors.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we understand. Yeah, if AI come to us, we need more resilience and also the security for our energy supply chain. And finally for Ashley, maybe a similar question for you, because breakthrough energy is focused on the long-term innovation. And for the AI boom come for us, is any investment and direction change, or you hope to, or any innovation and technology you will continue to focus on?
Yeah, thank you. It definitely is a buzzword, right? If you read the headlines, it's changing daily. I think data centers are in the headlines daily as well. And so, we're not, as I mentioned, kind of our North Star, the high emissions sectors that we're going after. But AI now is helping us, right? Even run businesses in our day-to-day lives become more efficient as the talent pools think about shifting how we can build these companies. And so the day-to-day business innovation is one thing that's speeding up, but then our ability to model, grid technologies, to build these digital twins and nuclear and in all of those fancy areas, but it's helping us get more information so that we can go build more efficiently, so the grid operators have more information so that we can plug in new sources of power that come online. I do think in the US and other places, it's a little bit of a wild west with the data center and this demand pull you can see here on the energy and power side that Summer has. And so actually the hyperscalers are doing us a bit of a favor because they're willing to pay the green premium. And so now we're kind of going through an incubation phase where we can start putting together a bunch of different technologies to get these data centers off the ground. And they may look different in different parts of the world depending on what resources, supply chains, and technologies are available. But people may want to have more modular power systems, right? From a security perspective, still need the reliability, but there's all these other things to tackle. So cooling, transmission, just storage in general, all the components, the cement needed to do this. But we're seeing a ton of innovation, right? Speaking of Microsoft, they're putting things down, they're putting data centers down in the ocean for cooling. Space hasn't come up yet, but actually that's a new area for us. We actually have some space-based investments that you can look at. Geothermal, that's been a really interesting area that I think we've continued to think about. We have an exciting company there, but also building a portfolio around that. But there's a lot of pivots. So that's the word I would use. We've even seen an airline company convert their turbine as a cooling now. They're ditching the aviation sector and going into cooling data centers. So we see a lot of pivots, and we work with companies to really make sure, is your pivot aligned? But the hyperscalers are helping So it's giving us this incubation landscape. It'll drive down the cost, hopefully, but it's going to look a little different everywhere else. The last piece I just would say, AI for new materials is something that we're exploring. It's a little bit of a Wild West there as well. And then just mining and minerals. So kind of mapping and building, the digital layers of what's in the subsurface and then figuring out the best and most optimal ways to get that out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashley. Actually, we also find out some really amazing AI company and for push the material area and also the health space, what can I say, to decline the 10 years research time to 1 or 2 years. Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, actually we just only have 3 minutes, but oh no, we have one discussion point for. I hope you could give us some advice for our Japanese deep tech startups and also our ecosystem. Yeah, we have a sushi tech from 4 years ago. Yeah, so actually Japan government and also the city of Tokyo as a push the innovation ecosystem. And we also have the strong ecosystem right now in Japan. Actually I have 2 points. One is for the Japan's potential. Yeah, because Ashley, maybe you mentioned your slide. Actually, you plan the new global hub maybe in Japan next. So what is the potential you feel in Japan and the appeal of Japan? Yeah, I just like your perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So quickly, amazing innovation, amazing academic, amazing talent pool here. And we think if you combine that with the advanced manufacturing capabilities that we really together will be able to scale things up at a more rapid pace. So speaking about competition, speaking about the large growth of this market. And so we think Japan is going to be an amazing place to build innovation and to scale it up quickly. And then I think we are going to have to get pretty specific on some of the sectors. So it might be things like quantum in next generation SMR. We talked about hydrogen storage, the hydrogen economy, sustainable aviation, and then port infrastructure as well. A significant amount of our goods are out in the oceans, right? And so GDP is dependent on that. Japan in this area is going to play a huge role. So thinking about fleets and maritime and port infrastructure, robotics, all of that, I think Japan really has an opportunity to lead there as well. And so just from a broader ecosystem too, what the government is doing under MEDI and with all the different functions and Sushi Tech here, you can see it. We think now is a ripe time to come partner with the academics, with the universities, and with the corporates and other co-investors to help stimulate more startups in Japan and across the region.
Okay, thank you. We're looking forward you come to Japan and support a lot of Japanese deep tech startup and go to the global market. And next, I want to turn to Andrew. It's the same question. Yeah, because you have a lot of collaboration with Japanese player. Just give your view.
Okay, yes, we do. We're very fortunate to have a large limited partner group in Japan. And Japan also exemplifies for us the challenge as well as the opportunity of translating world-class innovation into globally scalable solutions. We have an amazing track record in Japan for fundamental research, engineering excellence, and system integration. So the question is increasingly how capital, international collaboration can come together to ensure that these innovations scale beyond national boundaries. One example we have of this in our portfolio is actually from South Korea, Ameji. And while the company did originate from that country, the company originated from that country's ecosystem of research. It's scaled in the United States, and now Japan has become an increasingly important market for engagement, particularly around large-scale cracking of ammonia. And that's because Japan has always been focused on ammonia cracking at scale, and it reflects a consistent strategy that people can invest in and bank on over time. So we see Japan as a fantastic source of innovation. The challenge is now, how do we take that into a global investment platform? How do we leverage global policy and support companies to develop outside of Japan as well?
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your highly expectation for Japan. But we still have a lot of a challenge. Even we are building a strong ecosystem in Japan, but yeah, actually, we still have a lot of challenge for how we can scaling our startup outside Japan. So finally, I'd like your view, Yan. Yeah, maybe from your portfolio, you could give us some success story and some advice for Japanese startup. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So just to be clear, no, we did not invest in Japan and then help companies to scale globally. However, we invest into companies globally and then we help them to scale with large corporations, with partners. We also have a huge LP-ship of corporates in Asia and Europe. And I think the main thing is always, I'm saying, maybe it's obvious, no, it's about people, no, and the right team. And I think especially is you should think big from the very beginning, no. I think what unifies Japan and Europe is a little bit the thinking big. It's sometimes a bottleneck in the teams we are looking into. And I think you really should try to create an ambition to do something really special in this world, and aligning with the team which is diverse and brings also the ability with also talking about language barriers and all the topics to be able to communicate with the global markets and the global teams. And before you start to write a thesis or a PhD paper about what you wanted to do, reach out to potential customers, investors, clarify, and go further with that. You look for your supporters like us as VCs. And we really like to talk much earlier than we invest into with you, helping you to find the right angle into the market. It sounds really common sense, normal, that's life, but it's really that, no? And if we are not doing that, it's really difficult to be successful, because there are a lot of young, passionate people in all the world which are competing, but they're given your excellent expertise, your engineering background, the great companies here in the country with all this knowledge about the energy sector and the hardware which is needed. There's an amazing opportunity for all of you who wanted to create and start up here.
Okay, thank you, Yang. I think our startups can't wait to talk to you. And finally, Summer, we have to close the session. Yeah, just give some tough advice for our Japanese startup.
It sounds like I'm always tough, but actually, I'm a kind person, everyone. So I think Japan has a very unique position in climate deep tech. It's because, well, let's say fusion. Fusion is a really great example. If you think about in Japan fusion strategy, right? Japan is building the supply chain of fusion, right? So it's not only like betting on one technology and hopefully that will work. It's literally like building a supply chain with ecosystem, and then that's kind of a really strong indicator, so that a lot of people will say, okay, supply chain and components providers is also matters, right? And in deep tech, value doesn't really come with the end product, right? Deep tech is the value coming from material, manufacturing, and know-how to make it, right? So I think that's like Japan has all these components, that successful components, and then it's a matter of how you utilize it. So for example, like the Miraso, right? Miraso is one of the fusion components company, and they raised 4.2 billion yen this year, right? So that's kind of a great signal that we are seeing for the Japan fusion market. But then, of course, here's a challenge. Kathy is like laughing because I'm just always giving this challenging statement. technical strengths alone is not enough, right? So you have to, as Jan mentioned, you have to engage beyond Japan and beyond talking to the international players and partners from day one, right? When you're waiting for your technology to be perfect, it's too late, right? Perfection is not success. Perfection is just your self-satisfaction, right? So you got to think about, okay, who will be the winner? Winner is like who learn faster than others, right? So just really engage with those people. And then like I just wanted to give one really like my message for the Japanese founders is always this: like think about global relevance from day one, right? It doesn't like it from the products, from the partners, from the customer's angle. You got to think about the global relevance when you think about business. So that's kind of something I really wanted to say. You already have like the materials. You already have an engineer depth, right? You already have excellence, the attitudes to make this like business work. So I think this precision of manufacturing, everything Japan has, it's a matter of your mindset, like less hesitation, right? Be bold. Stop hanging out with the same people, please, right? So like I just see that you're hanging out. We are all hanging out. We love our friends, right? But look, like we also have to make a new friends. So stop hanging out with the same people, thinking about that global mindset, and then you just like go out and then think about the new business model, new people, new partnership you can build. That's my tough message.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Plug and Play will bring them out and talk to new friends. Yeah, actually, we have to close this session because the time is over. But as time is too short, and we had a lot of takeaway from this session. Finally, I'd like to thank you for all of our speakers. Thank you so much for traveling in Japan and joining our session, and also providing the fantastic comment for our ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that inspiring session. Sorry it was such a short period of time, but we do have a networking session after. So would all the speakers move to the connective space, please? A big round of applause to our wonderful speakers. Thank you so much.